I think I've just been yearning for like that kind of like simplicity. Hey y'all, what's up? What going on? It's your girl Nika of Traveling with Nika, and today I am back on y'all's screen with a new video. So as you can tell by the title or the thumbnail or something of the sort, I am gonna be talking through what I plan to do to leave America and what my plan is. And then I'm also gonna talk about my experience changing from a dual citizenship baddie to a multi-citizenship baddie and how I was able to do that. I automatically have US citizenship by birth, and then you guys should know that I grew up in the Virgin Islands, and by descent I was able to have a Virgin Islands passport since I was born. So I always had two passports for my entire life. But in the last recent years, honestly, I've been thinking about what do I want my life to look like, or what opportunities that I want to give myself that could be afforded to me by getting like a different citizenship or residing somewhere else and things like that. So for me, during the pandemic, I actually went back to the VI for like 3 months, and to be honest, during my entire adult life, that was the longest time that I was able to be home, and my nervous system and my entire mental health was so great during that time. And it was definitely because I was home, I was in my safe space, I was around all of my loved ones literally day in and day out, and I had not been able to have that experience since I had moved away from home. So other than coming back during like Christmas holidays and then summer holidays, I was not able to have that type of experience, being able to kind of like go home and really be home, right? But something in my brain like just clicked, and I was like, I want to just be able to have the opportunity to do more of this, being able to go home more and things like that. So obviously the VI is my first home, and then I would say the US is my second home. But now in the last, I would say 3 years or so, I had really been thinking more about what I want my life to be like, what type of opportunities that I wanted to give myself, and that was giving myself my third citizenship officially on paper. So I knew that I was always eligible to get another passport. I actually am eligible to get 4 passports. I currently have 3. And as I told you guys before, that I always had 2 passports, and then now I have this extra paper. A lot of people talk about leaving the US and they want to relocate to like Asia and go to places like Europe and things like that. For me, if I am leaving this place, I am going to the Caribbean, and I'm going to 2 places, the Virgin Islands or Grenada. And that's why I wanted to set myself up on paper so that I know that obviously I would always be able to kind of go back home and do my thing there, but then also be able to be a Grenadian citizen and be able to have free movement within CARICOM. As a CARICOM citizen, you can actually have like free movement within the CARICOM countries and be able to obviously have like different investment opportunities, be able to live there, work there, etc. It is no secret that there's a lot of things that is happening in the US in recent times, and I have always known that the US may not be like my permanent home. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that I would literally leave the US and never come back. As I got older, I was like, what if I'm able to kind of just like be between the different places, right? And doing that would mean, or it would be better for me to make sure that I have my citizenship, have my passport, so I can easily navigate between the different countries if I do want to relocate, or if I want to just temporarily be in the country for an extended period of time, right? I wouldn't have to really go through any red tape of like the immigration process and, you know, things like that. It's like, I'm a citizen, so if I wanted to go to Grenada and be there for 6 months, I could easily do that. If I wanted to go back to the VI, like having my passport is basically the key for me to be able to do that. And when you think about what you have access to by having multiple passports, a lot of people don't know this, but some passports you can actually get into certain countries either visa free or for like an e-visa that may be like less cost versus what you may have to pay with your US passport, for example. So even having access to my CARICOM passport, I may be able to travel to different countries where my US passport may not allow me to travel to the country, but having my CARICOM passport, I will be allowed there. As a frequent traveler, that's another perk for me personally. Yeah, sometimes costs can add up by having to pay for visa costs and things like that. That's just another example of why having multiple passports is like a way of like having freedom, right? Another thing I would say having multiple passports is a benefit for is, I talked about a little bit earlier, but having free movement. So being a citizen of a country, you are obviously able to go and come as you please. You are able to freely work there. You are able to freely, you know, let's say open a business, live there. But if you're coming into a country and you're trying to like relocate, even if it's temporarily, you're going to have to go through the immigration process by getting work permits, residency permits, things like that. By me having multiple passports, I am giving myself that freedom to not have to do any of that. That is power in itself, especially given the current climate in the US. Like truly, if I want to move within the next couple of months, it's not going to be a hard process for me. I can easily make that move without having to worry about any of the red tape that may come with the immigration process moving to a new country. So now we're going to talk about how people can actually get multiple citizenship. So one of the questions that I have been asked is, I didn't know that people could have multiple passports and things like that. That does depend on the current citizenships that you hold and if they allow like dual citizenship or multi-citizenship. As a US citizen, there's no restrictions for being able to hold multiple citizenships. So I don't have that restriction, and any of the other passports that I have currently, they also don't have any restrictions about me holding different citizenships. There are some countries that they do not allow even dual citizenship, so you would not be able to get another passport for another country. If you are from a country that allows dual citizenship or multi-citizenship, I definitely recommend looking into it, because you just never know. Like for me, I rather have my paperwork in order, knowing that I can make a move if the need arises, or if I need to just go somewhere else and leave America, right? So here are some of the ways that you can probably obtain citizenship from a different country. So one would be by birth. Some countries, they basically offer citizenship once you are born in the country. It doesn't matter like where you live or where your parents are from or anything like that. Some countries automatically give you citizenship once you are born on their soil. Another way to get citizenship is through descent or like ancestry. So if you have a parent that was born in a country, you may be able to get citizenship through them. Or let's just say you see recently some African countries have been saying that, hey, if you can prove that you have African ancestry, you'll be able to get citizenship through that path, right? One of the most popular ways I would say, other than obviously getting citizenship automatically from a country that you were born in, is actually through descent. Each country is different. It may only go to parents, or it may only go up to grandparents, or it may go up to great grandparents. You definitely want to do your research and see if you would be eligible, if it kind of goes down the line and you have some type of connection to that country where you may be eligible for citizenship yourself. Another way that you can obtain citizenship for a country is through marriage, and then also through residency. So some countries have a residency path to citizenship where, let's say if you live in a country for 20 years, 25 years, you may have a path to citizenship. Or let's say you live in a country and you've been like a permanent resident for 3 years, 5 years, etc. They may have a path to citizenship. And lastly, one of the ways that a lot of people don't really talk about is actually buying citizenship. So it's called like citizenship by investment. There are some countries that if you spend a certain amount of money, you are able to get citizenship for that country. And trust me, the rich people, they are paying for some of the citizenships that we are eligible for and we don't even know it, right? Like there's people that want to get like CARICOM passports and they pay for that so they can, you know, take advantage of all of the perks and benefits. And let's just say you have a parent that was born in a CARICOM country and you are eligible to get a passport. you don't even have the passport, but there's some rich person that's actually going into that country and buying a passport through the citizenship by investment pathway. So again, there's things that we take for granted, and I would say that I definitely took it for granted myself, but in the last couple of years, I really was like, I need to go ahead and do this. I finally went ahead with the process, and I'm so glad that I eventually did that. But that's just a quick reminder to you guys that people are utilizing some of the resources that we have easier access to, and we're not taking advantage of it at all. And before I go into the step-by-step process for how I got this wonderful passport, my CARICOM passport from Grenada, I am gonna say that I am eligible for 4 passports, but I currently only have 3, and that's for a very specific reason. My 4th passport, I am not interested in getting that passport, at least not right now, because it wouldn't really afford me any benefits that I currently don't get with the passports that I have, except for if I do want to relocate to that country. But that is nowhere on my plans to relocate to that country, because really and truly, y'all, if I'm trying to relocate from the US, why would I go to the UK? Like, no, I'm trying to leave all of that. So I hope you guys kind of like get the drift of what I'm saying. Like, if I'm planning to leave the US, right? Like, why would I pretty much go over to like its cousin? So now we're going to go into the step-by-step process of what it took for me to be able to get my Grenada passport once and for all. So I do have the steps I took here, so I'm going to be using that as my guide to make sure that I get everything. So firstly is it costs 350 EC dollars to be able to obtain a Grenadian passport. I was able to apply for a Grenadian passport through Descent. My mom is Grenadian, so I was able to be eligible through Descent because she is one of my parents. Then 2, I was able to pay for my application actually online. The Grenadian government makes it super easy for you to pay for your application online through the official government website, and like select like you want to pay for the passport. You pay, they send you like an email to confirm that you paid for the passport, so you get a receipt. I made sure that I had that printed off to be able to submit with my application, since I was not paying it with cash when the application was going to be turned in. Of course, I had to have a completed application. So the application is very straightforward in my opinion. It does have all of the instructions on there for what documents you're going to need, what you need to bring in with your application, where you need to bring it in. They also have the information on there for the photo sizes and all of that stuff for the application. So be sure to read that in full. In terms of the documents that I had with me to be able to support my application was 1, the completed application, and it was also signed by a justice of peace. So in Grenada, that's called a JP for short. And think of it as a person that's a notary basically. But when you're doing your Grenada passport, you do have to have someone that basically like they are vouching for you. Like, I know this person for the past 5 years, 10 years, whatever. They're gonna be as like a support for your application, right? So I had a JP. They were able to sign my application for me. She also had to endorse the back of my passport photos, which I did take them in Grenada as well. So of course they knew, you know, what size passport and all of that stuff. And the JP does have to sign the back of those passport. I think it's 1 out of the 2 pictures. They did have to sign that as well. And that instruction is also on the passport application. So there should be no confusion there. Obviously, if you're going to the embassy, they're gonna instruct you on what needs to be done. I did mine in Grenada, so I'm just sharing my actual experience. So in terms of other documents that I had in support of my completed application, I of course had my original birth certificate. I had my mom's original birth certificate. I also made copies of my US passport and also a copy of my US driver's license. Those were like the 4 main like documents that I provided with my packet, along with the receipt that I paid already online for my passport. In addition, I did have 2 passport size photos, and as I mentioned, I took those photos in Grenada. One was endorsed by the JP as required per the passport application. When you get all of these documents together, and again, I'm speaking from my experience doing this, starting that process while I was already in Grenada. Once you submit everything, you can go to like the immigration department, for example, and submit all of your documents. And once you accepted everything, passport went in, and y'all, they had my passport ready in literally like 2 weeks or so from the date that it was submitted to when it was ready. And then they had all of your original documents available for you right there and then as well, so you didn't have to like go back to get them. They had everything ready for you, your passport and then all of the other documents that they needed to return to you. Once I got my Grenada passport in my hand, I was like, your girl is official. Your girl is official, officially with a CARICOM passport, which honestly, CARICOM passports can definitely have a lot of great benefits. And as I said, for me, my plan in terms of like making sure that I could leave America smoothly, depending on where I want to go, is about making sure that I give myself access. I give myself opportunity. And this is what me having a 3rd passport, especially my Grenadian passport, that is another way, another pathway basically for me to do just that. You might be asking, you know, should you get another passport if you're eligible? And honestly, I'm thinking like, why not? So one of the things I would recommend, or I would urge you to do, is do your research. See if you're eligible for another passport or citizenship from another country. And if it's something like as easy as being able to get it through descent, like myself, as I explained here, the process was so smooth. It was honestly a breeze, and it took no time by the time I started the process to me getting that other passport in my hand. It was such an easy process, and I'm kind of like, wow, I can't believe I took so long to actually do this, but better late than never. I've said it before, but the way that I feel when I go to the VI, when I go to Grenada, it just cannot be replicated in the US or anywhere else, to be honest. And the level of peace, the level of calm, the level of simplicity that I get is just unmatched. And I think I've just been yearning for like that kind of like simplicity, you know, and also just proximity to, yeah, loved ones, as I said before. Being able to like enjoy life, or like what a soft life is, has kind of like changed, especially as the overall like climate in the world has obviously changed. I hope this video was super helpful, just kind of talking about my long-term plan or ideas that I have for setting myself up to having the ability to be able to leave the US if the need arises, or if I just plan to do it for whatever personal reasons. And I am so glad that you are at the end of this video. If this was helpful, definitely go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed as yet. Like the video, share the video, and drop a comment if you have any other questions specifically about applying for my Grenada CARICOM passport, or any other questions about having multiple citizenships or anything like that. See you guys in the next video. Bye.